Here is Brattleboro's latest Town Matters podcast. This podcast is a quick update on what is happening in Brattleboro town government. I'm your host, Town Manager John Potter, broadcasting from the BCTV studios in Brattleboro, Vermont. Today we're going to look back at what happened at the June 4th Brattleboro Select Board meeting, and then I'll give you a preview of the agenda for the upcoming meeting on Tuesday, June 18th. At the board's June 4th meeting, there were 6 items on consent: a bid award for sidewalk improvements on Western Ave, a loader purchase for DPW, as well as an air compressor purchase and a Bobcat purchase, all for DPW, a second-class liquor license for the Super 8 convenience store, and an out-in-the-open Pride parade permit approval. And those 6 items were all approved on consent by a vote of 5-0. The first item of old business was taking up the second reading of a utility rate ordinance change. This was to align the rate ordinance with the approved FY25 water and sewer budget, which would have rates going up by 5%. After discussion, the board adopted the proposed changes to the Brattleboro Code of Ordinances with a vote of 5-0. Under new business, the board then considered a proposed FY25 parking fund budget along with a number of parking system improvements that would go along with that. In fact, they discussed various aspects of the parking budget, including costs, improvements, deficits, the rate system, and a proposed idea to switch to a cashless system, as well as the history of the fund. For parking system improvements, staff presented ideas that included removing the parking meters from downtown and replacing them with kiosks, instituting a pay-by-plate system, and potentially going to a cashless system where parking would be paid for through an app on your phone or with credit or debit cards at the kiosks. After a lengthy discussion, the board moved to accept and appropriate a grant in the not-to-exceed amount of $114,289 from the Vermont Downtown Program and implement parking system improvements that were discussed. And this was approved by a vote of 5-0. Next, under this item, the board considered 2 versions of the parking budget, a deficit budget and a fully funded one that changes the rates for parking, including short-term parking rates, long-term rates, as well as the fees for permit parking at the transportation center. The select board gave feedback on rates to staff, as well as other ideas such as instituting Sunday parking fees. They asked the board to come up with some other various options for an FY25 parking budget and to come back to them at their June 18th meeting to discuss this further and see if we can do a parking budget. The next item was a revolving loan fund request from Brattleboro Area Affordable Housing Corp. Under this item, the board moved to allocate up to $16,000 from the revolving loan fund to support Brattleboro Area Affordable Housing in the creation of 4 new living units in Brattleboro during fiscal year 2025. This motion passed by a vote of 5-0. The final item on the June 4th meeting was a potential grant application for a bike path on the Brattleboro Common. The board moved to authorize staff to apply for up to $150,000 from the 2024 VTrans Small Scale Bicycle Pedestrian Grant to construct a multi-use path on the backside of the Common and also to replace the existing sidewalk along Park Place with a 5-foot bituminous sidewalk. After discussion, the select board voted 5-0 to authorize staff to apply for that grant. And that was the June 4th select board meeting. The next select board meeting is a regular meeting scheduled for Tuesday, June 18th. The preliminary agenda for the June 18th meeting is the following. Just prior to the meeting, the select board will conduct committee interviews for several contested positions on town committees, following which they will consider a consent agenda with 6 items on it. They are the following: a reappointment of a forest fire warden for the town, a consideration of how to allocate the new state-mandated childcare tax credit payments, a consideration of approval of a permit for the Brattleboro Goes Forth parade on the 4th of July, the reappointment of a tree warden, a consideration of an outside consumption permit for the new restaurant Plated, and finally a second-class liquor license and tobacco license will be considered for SKJ2 Corporation. After consent, the board will take up their old business that I referred to previously of the FY25 parking fund budget. Staff will bring back several options for a budget that will have different rates in it and different approaches that hopefully one of those will be of interest to the board and they can consider approving a parking fund budget. Under new business, there will be a closeout grant public hearing for the DeWitt property and also a Winston Prouty grant closeout public hearing. Those are state-required hearings for grants that were implemented through the town for projects at the DeWitt property and the Winston Prouty property. Following those public hearings, the Winston Prouty folks will be giving an update on the housing project that they are planning at the old Austin campus. Following an update from Winston Prouty, the board will hear a summary from staff of public feedback that has been received on the solid waste program. Also, under solid waste, there will be a discussion about next steps leading to a replacement contract for solid waste collection and disposal in Brattleboro. Finally, the board will make committee appointments, and that is the meeting of June 18th. I have a few announcements. Brooks Memorial Library will close at 1 p.m. on Thursday, June 20th to upgrade its electronic network. The project was supported by a grant from the Vermont Department of Libraries, and it will result in significantly faster internet connections at the library. So the library will close at 1 p.m. on June 20th and will reopen at 10 a.m. on June 21st, the next day. The town will be hosting 3 public forums this June. You're invited to share your thoughts on the following projects. On Thursday, June 20th, the town will be discussing the future of Fuller Park and the bandstand that's located on that property. Join us from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Fuller Park. Others may know this as Estyville Common, and it's located at 115 Esty Street. If you plan on attending, we ask that you please bring a lawn chair. On Tuesday, June 25th, you're welcome to drop by the pool between 3:30 and 6:30 p.m. to offer feedback on the latest designs of a new aquatics facility at Living Memorial Park. These early designs were discussed during a select board meeting in March, and this is an opportunity for you to weigh in again. And finally, on Thursday, June 27th, the town will be hosting a public workshop from 6 to 7:30 p.m. in the Select Board room regarding Canal Street. The town and the consulting firm SLR International Corporation are conducting a corridor plan for Canal Street, or Route 5. The project team will share an overview of the project as well as maps and other materials that explain the existing conditions, and you will be able to give us your thoughts on what the town should do in that section of roadway. For more details about any of these projects, Fuller Park, the town pool, or Canal Street, please visit the website at brattleboro.gov/projects. Finally, absentee ballots for the August state primary election will be mailed in early July for those that request them. You can request an absentee ballot by visiting the state's My Voter page at mvp.vermont.gov, or you can reach out to the town clerk's office and they will assist you in getting an absentee ballot. The primary election will be held on Tuesday, August 13th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the American Legion. So that's what's happening in Brattleboro town government. Please reach out at townmatters@brattleboro.gov if you have any feedback. There's lots of additional information on the website, brattleboro.gov, about what is discussed at the select board meetings, so please check that out for agendas, reports, and backup materials. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon, Brattleboro.